TGIF, everybody. Hi, Alexander. Chi Ming Lang. Nice to meet you. How are things in Singapore? Marco, Ingmar, how are you? Okay, let's take a look around. Really, what we had this week in the currency markets was neutral. That's Bitcoin trying to fail here. Anyway, so when you look at euro and you look at a weekly here, we're completely inside of last week's range. I don't believe we took out last week's low, an inside week. Okay, so the most bearish thing, and it looks the same in the dollar, right? Dollar came off that 44 level. So the most bullish thing for the dollar would be for the euro to start off higher and take out this week's highs early next week. Okay. And then take out this week's lows and the prior lows, and we'll be on our way to test out this low of 117.04. I was figuring about 1760 on the close before we have another bounce. That's the way it looks to me. Uh, Similar scenario in Canada inside week. I'm still giving what happened last week the heavier weighting than neutral. Neutral does not negate. It's not bearish. I know there was no follow through, but perhaps all we're doing is consolidating the gains, and the opposite would be true. Say Canada, I think the low this week was about 252. But if we were to take that out sometime next week, and it doesn't have to, but clearing this resistance up here at 2440, I think could take us to 26 and a half to 28. So still buying weakness, bought weakness this week. And, I always scalp off at least a piece of my position. Euro pound, almost a reversal week to the upside. In fact, I think we're getting a 2 week reversal here. So what that's saying is on the next dollar rally, and I think we got the market tell yesterday, is that it's going to be led to the downside by cable. Okay, so a much bigger wick on the cable weekly candle. Compare that to euro is almost at the top of the wick. So that says EG could be good for a decent move. All right, here's your weekly chart. I see a lot of confluence up here at 88. So maybe what we're going to have is A, B, C up here. And that happens during the dollar advance because cable will lead the way down. So if this is heading up, cable becomes your preferred short on rallies. And then if you think the dollar is going to sell off, euro's your best trade to buy on weakness. So I think this could be an important turn. Of course, there have been, all these false starts, but, we tested the 78 and a half level, and you have an easy stop under 84.60. So, at one point it was, about 80 pips. You could probably tighten it up, but, decent action there. All right, so I've been talking about for about a month now, NASDAQ heading up towards between 14.3 and 14.5. Here we are. And it's a positive week, unless there's something dramatic that happens today. And in fact, we have a throwover. See this? Okay, so I started laying on some positions in SQQQ because I like to hear the ice crack, and I may add, but the classic sell signal would be the NASDAQ 100 back under this low. You could see it better on 4-hour chart. This is what it did Wednesday and held the throwover line. So basically back under 14, 250, 260, which was this low, will be back in the formation. To me, I'm looking at this as a rising wedge. I have a couple of different, let me get you guys out of the way. I have different anchors on this wedge. When I go to the weekly, had the one off the COVID crash. That's the steeper ascent. And then I'm anchoring the wedge right here, shorter term wedge that we have 2 tags here. So this really looks like this would be the breakdown, and that's going to come in around 113.3. So we're 13.3. We're 1,000 points away from this breakdown. And if you believe the wedge, we should retrace the whole wedge. That could take us, back down towards this 11,000 area. So this is the way I'm looking at it. Of course, NASDAQ has been the strength the last few weeks, which is quite a change. Are struggling, and everyone, everyone was talking about 4,300, and to me it looks like it's running out of time, and maybe we're going to get there. But I like the cleaner formation. It's a wedge, and this is how I'm playing it in SQQ. Get ready, you guys. All right, same type of scenario. Nothing glaring divergence, but again, the wedge is complete. Up here, I'm using the same wedge as I showed in NASDAQ, so I think there's a chance into the late summer, early fall for this thing to double. So you could risk a buck or two looking for a double. And we'll see if I'm all wet in the next 2-3 weeks. And I think a lot's going to have to do with yields. So, tech has had a little bit of a breather. I don't know if we're going to still shoot up one more time. People are calling this a flag. If we get risk off, we could go to 120, 110. So that's my view on what I see here for the week. Neutral week in currencies after a big week last week, consolidating gains, or was that just a one-day wonder from the Fed? What do you think, Blake? Was last week just just an aberrational pop because of the Fed, and they've walked things back? I think they're
well, yeah. I mean yes. And good morning, Dale. TGIF.
Good morning, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously is now. I mean, unfortunately I didn't feel that way earlier this week. So
yeah,
if I would have felt that way earlier this week, I wouldn't have been stuck long the dollar Mexican peso earlier. Fortunately, I got out before the Banxico meeting yesterday. Did you see that Bank of Mex or Banxico actually raised rates yesterday?
well, and that's their central bank.
Yes.
Okay. No, I didn't know that. So a lot of peripheral countries are doing it now.
Yeah, I mean,
well, not a lot, but
it is an EM. It is you're correct. It's an emerging market. Country. So they tend to be more of the first responders. They if they feel any type of inflation pressures, they're going to raise rates. But no one was expecting it. But the price action actually said otherwise, and that was my tweet yesterday. If you guys are like, I said no one knew. Look, the dollar Mexican peso, the community is really small with the market makers. So if somebody sniffs it out, if somebody knows something that Banxico is going to do something, that explains why we were sliding in the dollar Mexican peso when nothing else was happening yesterday ahead of the meeting. And then, as you can see, that when the meeting came out, the move happened, and we're bouncing back a little bit. But following the meeting, I mean, we're just holding some of the support. But but going back to your original comment, yeah, I mean, I didn't think the S&P would rally to new highs after the move from 2 weeks ago. I mean,
last week. Yeah, it was a key
reversal.
reversal.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I mean, look at the weekly candle from last week.
Yeah.
So you know what saved the market was this pause in the dollar here. Okay, so the other maybe the indexes are using just a pullback in the dollar, and should there be continuation strength in the dollar next week, maybe the market sells off. But
Yeah,
that
and I
gave it a
look,
window, I thought.
I look at the dollar, and I know Steve has been pretty constructive on it, and I mean, you look at the dollar index. Look, we're holding up pretty well. I mean, you have to admit, and I know I tweeted that yesterday, but the fact of the matter is the dollar is holding up really well despite this move that we've seen in equities. I mean, look at the pullback. It's been very minor. We haven't even reached a 38% retracement from the lows. If you take just this last move, it's barely a 38% retracement. So, you know, the dollar index has held up really well. So in the event that we do see some dollar strength, I think I would have to agree with you that maybe it gets the attention of the stock market. But let's look at the S&P right now and just realize that we are perched at all-time highs in breakout territory, and we're flagging. So when you see that, I mean, what do you do, Dale?
Yeah. What about it? What about if we fail under that previous high and this flag just turns in? You know how sometimes formations morph. When would you consider this a false breakout? Back under?
Probably back under. Well, you can see I have an alarm set up for 4260, which is going to be important because that's going to be near the bottom of the flag. But I think this little red support zone, you know, that comes in around 4240. We start getting back below those levels, and then I'm going to say, hey, it's a false breakout. But right now, it isn't. Right now, it's bullish. Right now, if you look at the S&P, it looks like we're going to
43
really quick. If you guys
70,
you know, sorry if I'm for Forex Analytics subscribers or listening to the daily roundup yesterday and all that stuff. I mean, 4,300 is 127% extension of the move from last week, and from the May high to the lows here in May. That's 127% extension comes in at 4,300.
Yeah,
so
that could happen
to me, like the near-term target. That looks like where we're going probably today. I mean, we could actually do it today. It's Friday. It's at the end of the week. How many people are caught short? The flag pattern.
Show everyone the weekly from last week, because you know the weekly last week was a key reversal, I believe, Blake.
Yeah, let's do this.
Oh well, okay. I don't know if it was a key, but buy that close Friday and look.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean. So I won't use the bad word, the mind blank, but you know, I know I've gone with key reversals in the S&Ps before and really thought I've had it, and then this going home, you thought you had a top. I thought I missed it. Okay, so you know what a crazy business, you know. And I really think what gave it life was that the dollar didn't follow through for a week. So anyway, the dollar's a key still in my view.
The what?
The dollar is the key in my view.
Oh, okay. I thought your sentence was continuing. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think yields are central to everything. I really do.
You know what? Yeah, that could be number one too, because that's going to affect the dollar. So you're probably right still.
Yeah, I mean, but Stelios, you're thinking right now, in order for stocks to really move down, you're going to have to see a big move higher in yields, right?
Well, a big move. We need to see a move, and until we see that, I would just say do not short equities. I'm not saying get long up here, but just there's so many people who are itching and saying I need to get short. Valuations are really high. Yes, but I wouldn't touch it unless yields start going higher. We need to
go. But don't short the banks if yields are heading higher, because they get lit up every time yields start going.
Yeah, they want a positive yield curve. They lend at 6%, they borrow at 3%, and you make money.
How about these credit cards that lend at 24% and the money costs them nothing. That's a nice business
Yeah,
model.
they
isn't
have a big percentage of non-performing
that
debts on
too.
that side, so they have to factor
Yeah.
that in.
Yes,
But yeah,
that
you're
is
right.
one of the reasons of the high interest. True.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And
why they have
not only
underperforming. People can't pay. People just pay the juice every month. It's like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like going to the street for money with the mafia.
And Dale is not only that they have a decent percentage of delinquencies, is that they have the eventual black swan as well, like the financial crisis, where suddenly, like a
Oh, yeah. No one
huge part of
pays.
those, yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
Well, good morning, Steve. How are you?
Good morning, everybody.
they're crooks. They're crooks.
So, so as far as currencies go, it's pretty quiet. We have some pretty big data coming out in 15 minutes, though. Everybody's waiting for the PCE. Even
Jerome Powell.
Even Jerome Powell. He
Jerome
says,
Powell
hey,
isn't waiting for it. He probably
You
knows
think he
it already.
knows? Oh God.
What's that?
He
He
probably
could've-
knows the number already.
Well, I think he has a good idea what he thinks. the
For
number
sure.
is.
At the very least, that. At the
I
Yeah,
wonder
very
if he
and-
trades.
What's that?
I wonder if Powell trades.
Why would he risk trading the moment
No,
he gets
Huh?
out of the moment he loses his chair? He's going to start selling his 1 hour speeches for $250,000. So why risk it?
Yeah, that okay. See, we're very
Yeah.
practical.
So I've been monitoring this dollar yen. Matter of fact, the dollar yen has a little bit of a bearish wedge going on into the PCE numbers since the market was already looking for a weak number. I think the dollar is kind of getting ahead of that move right now. You can see the dollar is showing some weakness. Let's see what the dollar does here in the next 15 minutes. But the dollar is really just kind of consolidating. You can see the euro. This is a 4-hour chart of the euro. I guess we could just look at it as being like a flag pattern. So, somebody in the chat room yesterday mentioned to me like, "Hey, Blake, why is the dollar coming down if we're expecting, higher inflation data?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't think the market's expecting higher inflation data. Matter of fact, PCE, I think the readings that we're looking for is a little bit of a tick down in PCE, also consumption. Now, personal income is also expected to be a little weaker, but that's coming off stimulus, so that's why. So anyway, just some food for thought as we head.
We should keep giving stimulus checks, to everybody every single month, irrespective of conditions. So
Yeah, why not?
that should fix everything, right?
Yeah. What do they call it?
Helicopter money.
No, I know helicopter money.
That's actually going to be helicopter
Universal
money.
income.
MMT.
Universal income.
Yeah, universal income. There we go. Yeah, universal
Andrew
income.
Yeah,
Yang.
UBI, but which in essence is the same concept as helicopter money. I mean, all
Yeah,
helicopter money describes exactly that: injecting money directly to the citizens.
But you don't have to throw it out of a chopper.
The fun part is that many people don't know is that the term helicopter money was created by Milton Friedman, and he had actually said that in an interview, jokingly, as a potential development that would be ludicrous.
There you go. Then again, you have books. You have 1984, George Orwell. Saying all these things which look ludicrous, and now they're happening.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
They are. Aldous Huxley. Ben Maldonado says natural gas is breaking out. I rarely trade it, but a good day to be here because Bryn Kelly is here. She's an energy analyst, and
Finally
put-
we got to listen
Yeah.
to her. Nice.
yeah. So we're going to we'll get some fundamentals behind the natural gas move for you, Ben, even though you don't care because you're a technician. So anyway, that's all I have.
sounds good. I was just I want to take a look at crypto. And by the way, I'm still, just pointing out that as long as we're below the 618 retracement, which is 36,500 in Bitcoin, we just have been remaining bearish, and there you can see the numbers that we've been discussing. Ethereum's trading a little heavier too. If and I think a lot of people have been looking for a reversal in these cryptos because of this week's price action, and look at Ethereum just trading really heavy here. I don't trust these cryptocurrencies to the long side. Obviously, I'm still looking for 20,000 in Bitcoin and Ethereum to drop towards 1,000 or maybe even lower than that. But the fact of the matter is they're just not really bouncing like you would think they would. I would have thought in this environment, stocks being higher, risk appetite as strong as they are, I would have thought the crypto space would have acted a little bit better than it is, and it's not. And I was really expecting Bitcoin, or like Ethereum, to trade back towards like this this trend line up here, but it is really trading heavy, and that's something to really pay attention to. And still, as you were having some conversations in our chat room regarding crypto a little earlier, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ethereum and Bitcoin are now the mom and pop cryptos. All the action is in the other ones. You have like Dogecoin and SafeMoon and CumRocket or whatever they are. I have a friend he works for JP Morgan, New York, very good friend. And he's a couple of days ago when we had the big move lower, he said, right, I'm going in Dogecoin. And I think he bought 18.18 or something like that. And he's up like 50%, or he was up 50% at some point. It's like incredible moves in hours. And Bitcoin and Ethereum are now, dare I say it, moving a bit more reasonably in terms of daily.
Yeah,
daily
although still just in comparison, because in isolation, they're still, unbelievably volatile. It's just that the so-called shitcoins are like even it's squared. I mean, it's these cryptocurrencies volatility squared, which is like even more ridiculous. It's literally like casino, right?
Yeah, well, you can make money on them. I know.
Yes, or lose money on them.
That's the point. And it's funny, Stella, you said that about Dogecoin. My son, he bought it at 20 some cents and he sold it at like 23 cents. And he's like, man, I made a huge rate of return. He's like, much bigger than I can make trading Ethereum or Bitcoin. That's what he told me.
There you go.
Actually, 3 nights ago.
There you go. You get 10%, 10% moves in a day or less than a day. It's incredible.
Yeah. And always, obviously the underlying risk with these are, making sure.
Is your wife still long?
She cashed everything out at 60 cents.
Nice.
I tell you.
And she kept her original investment. She just took out all of her profits there. So
you're very practical.
Starting tomorrow, we're replacing Blake with Lisa on the webinar.
That's right. That's right.
I personally think coins like Dogecoin, they represent the nature of youth these days. They have the attention span of 5 minutes, and they want things fast, and they want excitement, and this is everything for them. I get it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's a video game, bro.
The thing about these cryptos, I just want to make sure that everybody, especially if you're trading them, just make sure your broker has, you have stops in place, you have protection, because these moves, a lot of times they happen out of nowhere. They happen over the weekends. They happen when you're not, when you're least paying attention. We've seen a lot of big downdrafts in cryptos happen over the weekends. We've seen them happen, random hours like in Asia when you wouldn't think the market's going to move. And they do. So just, be careful when you're out there trading these cryptocurrencies.
Why don't you bring your wife in and interview her? Forex Gal is saying Mrs. Morrow interviewed.
That's the 100%.
Let's get all the wives. Let's get all the wives on. Let's get all the wives together and interview them. And ask them how it is to live with a trader.
Yeah, she'd be like, she'd be like,
all right.
Yeah. That would be
that would be interesting.
At the end of our our industry.
The end of Forex analytics, probably. Anyway, so let's just pull up, just looking at some of these currencies ahead of the PCE data. Remember, the euro is just kind of consolidating here. Sterling's trading really heavy. And, obviously the Bank of England yesterday provoked a move lower in the sterling. And we're hugging this 50% retracement, but look at how poorly the pound is trading right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it is trading really poorly. But, you look at like these commodity currencies, look at the Aussie. The Aussie's firming. We're actually at our multi-day highs. I still think we're flagging, and I think it's in a bearish trend, but we're squeezing here in a Friday. I mean, this is when you're not getting paid being short, and it's the end of the week, right? Ooh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. I just moved that. Let me delete that. I have no idea what it is, so I'll have to redraw it later. So like you look at the Kiwi, the Kiwi's moving up at this again, it's Friday. We're in a flag pattern. We had a bearish breakdown last week. We're recovering because again, we're at the end of the week and you're just not getting paid being on the short side. So you're getting all these people that are covering just before the inflation data. And going back to point that I was asked, I can't remember who asked me in the chat room yesterday, like, oh, I think Craig asked me in the chat room. He goes, well, if we're expecting stronger inflation, why isn't the dollar reacting? I'm like, well, the market's actually expecting weaker data. And, when you have traders that are maybe short the Kiwi, let's just say, and, you're expecting weaker inflation data, with the PCE, you're getting them squeezed out ahead of the data because they're like, oh crap, I'm not going to get stuck, being short the Kiwi as we have, PCE that comes in below expectations because every Fed chairman, every, Fed governor says it's transitory, right? So anyway, dollar Canadian is actually holding up pretty well, but we still have a bull flag pattern. We're just, slipping back down into support. US dollar Norwegian krona, it's kind of same as the Aussie and the Kiwi. You're just seeing a little bit of selling coming in ahead of the data. Dollar Mexican peso is still trading heavy back down towards the support zone. And then the dollar yen is buckling under some pressure here. Now, remember, this is all dollar selling that's coming in ahead of this PCE data that's coming in less than 3 minutes. So Steve, Stelios, Dale, what do you guys think about inflation? I mean, is it here to stay you look at some of these commodities, you look at like, let's just say copper and lumber. I mean, look at lumber here.
I have a surprising headline.
Go.
What's that?
Henrik Zeberg says the inflation rally is over.
Okay. Okay, so it's going much higher. Got it.
I think it's going to be.
thought-
I think the problem is going to be around for longer than people think. Clearly, inflation is not pure demand-based frenzy like, excuse me, like China led in 2000s to just before the crisis. But there are many reasons why we're getting inflation. I think it's going to take longer to normalize than people think. So I think Henry.
And I think people have to understand that the inflationary pressures that we're feeling, we may not get 7%, annualized inflation. We may just be perched at a stubbornly high 2.5 or 3% inflation.
Exactly.
Right? It's not,
keyword reported.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I remind you, they've changed the inflation calculation multiple times, and I let you guess if the way they change calculations is to overstate or understate inflation every time.
Right, Steve. But what I'm saying is it's gonna be persistently high, however you want to measure it. I think that's what you have to. I think
agree.
that's
Of course, because they need inflation, not the US, the vast majority of countries, right?
Well,
Okay.
maybe we could have the real economy inflation and have financial asset deflation.
So Steve, why don't you explain what you mean by that?
By
After
which
the
of all?
data comes out here.
Yeah,
real
5
quick.
seconds. Hold on.
Let's see what we get.
Beep,
Market
beep,
already
beep.
moving.
Oh, there we go. 3.4 year on year. So it's exactly as expected.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Look at how weak the PCE is, and the consumption data. The consumption data is low, so you can see the dollar is weakening following the data.
Makes
And you're
sense
getting-
that consumption is moving lower because, as you said previously, Blake, the stimulus money are running out again, right?
Yes.
These stimulated consumption mostly.
So what? So again, what does the Fed have to do here? Stay supportive, right? That's why the S&P is going to rally to new highs. So it's just again.
I can answer with a metaphor. As you very well know, our main developer lost his father recently. He had a stroke and he was like struggling 1 month in the hospital at a very bad condition. And he was telling me almost on a daily basis that sometimes I wish that medicine was not that improved.
Good.
Because because now we're keeping up a person that's just meant to die.
Yeah.
So if and the metaphor goes back to the Fed can do as much as they want, and they'll try to do everything to support an economy that doesn't stand on real legs. But not coincidentally, every time the stimulus runs out, there's going to be even more and more needed to support the charade that there is actually a real economy. If we want to have real economies once again, then we have to swallow the pill. We have to do the tough thing and let economies rebalance so we can rebuild real economies and not this thing that we have now and that's supposedly a real economy.
I like
People,
a Dems.
People spending
Nah.
money they don't have, hoping that they're going to repay them in the future and that they're going to be, of course, less in value because of inflation. So
yesterday's guest, a Dem, called it an entitlement-riddled economy. I thought that was really
it is a good title, actually. Yeah.
Entitlement-riddled.
And I'm going to reiterate, it ain't ever gonna happen. So
I think
only if it's forced on us.
Exactly. I think unfortunately, eventually it is going to happen, Blake. But the problem is that it's not going to be on the choosing of somewhat the best timing. It's going to be forced by some kind of event, and then it's going to be very, very ugly.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't get this. Now everyone with kids.
And Dale, you got Brienne coming up. I'm going to say in the meantime, we'll see above 4,300 at 4,350 at the 161% extension in the S&P. I'll see you guys there.
Okay. Bryn is not in the house. Bryn, if you're here, please text me. Maybe she forgot again.
Let me look for her as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I don't see her either.
Yeah, Bueller. Remember that? Ferris Bueller's Day Out. Okay, well, I'll reschedule Bryn again. All right.
Why don't you just ping her?
Okay, I'll try.
Well, in the meantime, guys, I'm gonna Steve or Stelios, I'm gonna pass the charts over to you guys really quick. I need to handle my animals.
Yeah. You need to ping. Got it.
So yeah, I gotta go deal with dogs.
Have a good weekend, Blake.
For everybody else, I'll see you guys on the Morning Edge webinar in about 45 minutes.
Thank you, Blake.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
See you, buddy. Have a good weekend.
So let's check a little bit what's happening in the market short term following the data. So we have this pullback in the dollar resuming, right?
Yeah.
I still think that this temporarily is corrective. I do think that I just pulled the 4-hour chart, by the way, so we can see closer what's happening. So I still think that this pullback in the dollar might be temporary. and we might have one more leg higher to go following that before we actually can resume the downtrend for the dollar. So, unless we change completely the character of the pullback, because as you see, we had a short-term, rather strong move higher, and the way we've been pulling back is very corrective in nature. 91.40 is the first area of support, and 91 following that. So as long as we trade above 91, I think there is a very, very good chance that we're going to see one more leg higher in the dollar before we can continue lower. And it doesn't seem that today's data so far significantly changes anything. Now, I'm in total agreement with what Blake said. I mean, there is absolutely no reason why you would want to fade equities, at least with what we have so far. And yes, we have, if we look at the S&P, I have the same thing on my chart. We have the 127% extension of the last pullback at 43.02. Also, more or less confluences with this ascending channel trendline resistance. So 43.02, the next upside target, which is rather close now, right? And if we do break above that, then 43.46, the 161.8% extension. So, until proven otherwise, these seem to be the upside targets. And clearly, as long as equities remain and risk remains so well bid, it's really hard for the dollar to continue its prior recovery. Now, I'm not, I'm not some kind of a medium to guess what might be a catalyst for some risk-off move that might coincide with the next leg higher in the dollar, but it doesn't really matter. Technically speaking, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think it should happen sooner rather than later. Now, I still see the recovery that we've seen in all these pairs like Aussie, Kiwi, so on and so forth, temporary. I think that we also have another leg lower in all of those assets. And last but not least, and then the rest, on the morning edge.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people focus on what happens with several of the assets, precious metals, etc. We did hit the 161.8% extension in crude a couple of days ago, but no reversal signal yet. Yes, hitting a good upside target is not enough of a catalyst, right? While gold and silver are showing some signs of life once again, but I'm very doubtful that we're done with the downside. I think that we also need one more leg lower with this, before we can continue higher.
Can you show nat gas before
natural
we wrap up?
Natural gas has broken higher.
Okay.
We've been showing this on the morning edge every day.
Oh, okay.
Broke higher from the symmetrical triangle, came back tested it,
Nice.
and now it has actually broken to highs not seen since the beginning of 2019.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Going
there's
to
more
$14.
upside.
I saw a long-term chart. It's
I don't know
awesome.
about $14.
10.
I can tell you that 4.1 is the short-term upside target from the 161.8% extension of these symmetrical triangles.
Yeah.
Implied target.
Okay.
And we're still some distance from that. So one target at a time, Dale, right?
Yeah, I know. I get, nose for Pinker comes out in me. I can't control it.
But in general, I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm looking for much lower, for much higher prices in natural gas, as with the vast majority of assets that have intrinsic value.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah, that looks kind of ugly.
let's see. Yeah, let's see how the day is going to develop in Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I have to tell you that we kept saying the past few days on the morning edge as well, mostly on the morning edge actually, that we believe this short-term recovery is going to fail. And I have to tell you that today's candlestick so far is perhaps hinting that we're almost done.
Steve,
Um,
do light members get to come into the Morning Edge?
Yeah, of course, of course.
All right. Well, listen, there's a couple hundred people in here, and I know a lot of them aren't there for the Morning Edge because they get face for free. You would have
Mhm.
been long natural gas. And plus, you have like all day to ask these people questions instead of like show me platinum, show me euro, like happens in face.
Oh, in
So yeah,
the Morning Edge,
spend.
we even cover equities
Yeah, I
and
know.
anything,
Everyone likes free
commodities, anything you
face.
can imagine.
I know. I have a friend who says if it's free, it's me. But $20 is 2 pips, okay, of a standard lot. And you know, you let me know if it's not worth it after a month. Okay. And you know what, Steve, I've noticed since the pandemic, people just aren't as reliable as they were before that happened. I don't know why. But have you noticed that at all in Greece? It's like, because people could always use the COVID excuse for everything. Remember the poem I
I
wrote?
haven't thought about it, to be honest. No, I haven't
But
noticed
well,
something like
I've
that.
noticed it because
But you might be right.
yeah, they're either, vermischt, which is a Yiddish word for mixed up, but also that, they didn't have to show up for a year. And just like entitlements, responsibility is also something that has gone to the wayside a bit, in my view. I think we have a scarred world population over this on different levels.
I definitely think that this is going to leave scars behind on several levels. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Society, so on and so forth.
Oh, Ingmar's saying that in German, that's the same thing. Okay, so yeah, a lot of Yiddish sounds like German. The Germans copied. That's why there was. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, so
Something tells me that we extend a little bit
I'm
this
not going to go
conversation,
in. Yeah,
and we're going to get to our bite macht free.
yeah. I just got.
Macht frei.
I gave
Sorry.
myself the hook. Okay, now there's discipline. I gave myself. I say this to people, and I have to practice it myself. You don't have to say everything you think. It's a most well. Look at this. Look at this
Testimony.
testimonial.
Yeah.
All right, you gotta tweet that. You have to take
Alexander
it
says,
down.
unfortunately, I cannot afford the full membership and I'm a light member. But one thing I can tell you, it's the most well spent money I currently spend month on month. I hoped I could contribute more, although I still cannot. Thank you for your continuous contribution. Thank you for your kind words, Alexander.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So remember, don't just count your pips, Bryn. Where are you, Bryn? You used to show up.
Or
Okay.
as Ingmar, the German linguist, would say, tschüss.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, guys, everyone have a great weekend. Thank you, Steve, Stell, Blake, the whole team for laying it out on the court. Our mission is to build up traders every day. I believe we did that again this week. So enjoy your weekend, do your work, know what you're going to trade next week before Sunday night. That's my advice to you. And Steve, have a great weekend. It sounds like it's
and everybody else.
you're in the swimming pool nowadays. So have a nice summer weekend with your family.
Thank you. See you in 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, that's
for
right.
Forex Analytics members.
Okay. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Adios. Adios, bro.